Welcome back to the agenda with your Missoula County Commissioners. I'm Juanita Vero, and I'm here with my fellow commissioners and friends, Dave Strohmeyer and Josh Slotnick. And today, we're joined by two guests from the Ecology and Extension Office. Campbell Barrett is the 4-H Extension Agent, and Natalie Sullivan is our Agriculture and Livestock Extension Agent. So welcome to you both. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then for folks who don't know what the Extension Office is, let us know what that is too.
Well, my name's Natalie Sullivan. I am the Ag and Livestock Agent, though I've added equine to that list because that's my first passion and trying to do a lot to help horse owners in Missoula County manage their land and their horse health at the same time. When people ask me what my job is at Extension, I first describe it as the public education arm of the university. So we are actually considered assistant professors or professors when you're tenured, but we are out in our local communities diving into educational topics that are specific to that community.
Yeah, but you guys are associated with the Land Grant University, small college that they've been struggling, but I think they're going to get their feet underneath them. I'm rooting for them. I think they're going to pull it.
I'm not so sure about that, Josh.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a difficult balance to strike.
So it's MSU. That's where I was headed at. You guys are working for the Land Grant College, which is MSU, not U of M. So a person might wonder, if you work for MSU, why are you guys here?
Well, every county in the entire country has an extension office. So here in Missoula, we're really fortunate to have 4 extension agents covering family consumer science, 4-H, horticulture, and then myself, ag and livestock. But no matter where you are in the country, any state, the land grant university of that state oversees a county extension office. Even my in-laws in Atlanta looked up their county office, and it happened to be down the street.
Nice. And this came out of federal law, I think, in the 19th century. And the idea here, please correct me if I get this wrong, is that extension agents would carry knowledge that came out of the university out to people who are working out in the field in all kinds of occupations, not just growing crops.
That's a great way to put it. Agriculture was certainly a big fixture in those early days during the Dust Bowl, but we are the liaison between the researchers that are creating the data and the people who are best able to apply that knowledge to their farms or their fields or their families.
Campbell, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Campbell Barrett. I've been with MSU Extension here in Missoula County since January of 2007, decades ago. This will be my 20th fair with this outfit. I'm originally from Virginia, where I was briefly an extension agent. It felt like a long time, but only 6 years there before I moved here. I was a 4-H kid at many points in my youth, mainly in the teenage years as camp counselor and ambassador, things like that. But I did not have livestock. There are many different projects in 4-H that we'll talk about later in the podcast here. That's where I came from.
And maybe just to build upon what Natalie and Josh were talking about earlier in terms of what extension is, can you talk to us a little bit about, and our listeners out there, a little bit about the relationship between counties and extension agents? And here in Missoula County, there's a pretty tight, close working relationship, but there's funding involved to make sure extension has a strong presence here in Missoula County, and then there's the staffing piece.
Yep. Historically, we were referred to as the Cooperative Extension Service, and it was because the funding was cooperative between USDA, the state government, and the local governments. And so, of course, over the century plus, those things shift, and so the federal portion is much less than it used to be. In Montana, the county piece is bigger than in some places, but in Montana, the counties pay a portion of all of the local extension agents' salary package, but they also provide facility, office space, which in Missoula is probably the best in America. Because
Of course.
the Exploration Center.
I was worried you're going to say you're living in a dump or something.
Jerry Mark's building.
Well, just because my office looks like it, the facility is fantastic.
Nice.
So realistically, we have probably the nicest extension office in the Pacific Northwest, at least, probably America, definitely Montana. But the funding is cooperative. And like Natalie said, the folks on campus, the researchers, the instructors, they're campus-based. Part of the land grant mission is the research, the teaching, and the extension. And so we're an extension of the university out in the community. We live here. We know, we're your neighbors. We know the local needs based on our conversations and surveys and different things like that. So we have more of a pulse of what the needs in the community are, so we take then some of the research and things that are being done at the university and apply that to the local scene, whether it's for your kids, for your horses, for your fields, for your crops, for your dogs.
So, Campbell, I've heard said that 4-H may look from the outside like, oh, you're teaching kids how to raise animals. But it's way more than that. It really feels like it's much more about personal growth and development and skill building and community. Can you describe how a kid raising an animal out somewhere is actually personal growth, development, and community?
Right. Sure.
And leadership.
And leadership.
And I just have to interject here. I was actually in 4-H as a kid.
No way.
Nothing to do with living creatures. I was into rocks and minerals at the time,
cool.
and that was, I don't remember much about it, but I still have the display that I had at the county fair from as a kid.
This
Which
is
county?
new
Which county?
information dropping.
Which county is that?
Clackamas County, Oregon.
That is great.
Dave's brief career
That
in
is
hard
great.
rock mining.
Sorry to...
No, I hadn't heard that before. That's great. That's great to know. Because we do have quite a few kids in the geology project here in Montana, and they go different places, rock hounding and finding dinosaur teeth and whatever.
Personal growth, development, leadership.
Thank you, Josh, for bringing it back home. The different things kids are interested in, their projects, air quotes, projects, are, from my view, the tool to teach those skills that we're trying to teach. The communication, the working with adults, interview skills, public speaking skills, leadership skills. With the animal projects, I mean, you have the responsibility of something that is currently alive is depending on you to keep it that way and to train it and to bring it to wherever. If it's a dog project, to train the dog, or if it's a horse project, or your market animal projects that we see at the fair. So you're learning responsibility, there's money involved, you're learning financial management, you're learning budgeting, but you're also learning skills of what can I do to help this animal be better in its health through nutrition and the feeding, or in its condition if you're a horse rider. I'm not a horse rider, so I'll stop right there. But so we're trying to teach what they used to call soft skills. I think it's a different term now, but the things that are going to help these kids succeed in life, how to communicate, how to advocate for your position. They're all in 4-H clubs, and they may be in a committee, or they may be a camp counselor, and one person has this idea, another person has this idea, so they have to argue for their position and work as a team and have relationships with adults in the community and sit down and interview with an adult to talk about their project.
Maybe remind folks what 4-H stands for.
Well, there's 4 H's, thus 4-H. The first one is head, the second is heart, the third is hands, and the last one is health.
Oh,
so if you think about sort of the fully developed person, those are 4 areas.
Great. Could you think of an example of maybe a kid you worked with when they were kind of young, new to it all, and then watching that person grow and kind of what they were like 4 or 5 years later of being involved in 4-H?
Yeah, many, but one that I'll just use a first name. But
sure.
Stella, 3 or 4 years ago, was brand new to 4-H. She did not come in as an 8-year-old. She was kind of a little older, 11 or 12. Through Turner Farms Pumpkin Fest, was introduced to the 4-H concept, became involved, went to 4-H camp, and was so homesick and shy, we almost sent her home. Campbell is not the best worker of homesick children, but we got her through 4-H camp, and so then she found about the public speaking contest, and she's really good at that now. She, this past year, spoke in front of many of the legislators in Montana at a 4-H legislative breakfast event. She's now the only youth member on the Montana 4-H Foundation board. She is a club officer. She's, she's one of our local ambassadors. She's recently taken up quilting.
All right.
She's really taken advantage of the program and has come out of her shell, and she has a goal now to be an attorney. She wants to be in politics. I'm trying to steer her away from that. No offense, but just a really sharp kid.
Offense taken.
She's welcome to come shadow us any day. No joke, really.
Okay.
She could come do that.
She would love that.
Spend a day with a commissioner.
She would love that. So she's a kid who's kind of found a direction. She was struggling in school when she was younger. She's found a passion, or in the current 4-H marketing world, she found her spark.
All right.
And so she is excelling and I'm sure be as successful as she wants to be in whatever she decides to do.
That's a great story. Thanks.
Oh, and classic. That's fantastic.
There's thousands of stories like that.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, earlier you mentioned, or you described Extension as the public education arm of the university. How is it that we've got lots of variety across communities here in the state of Montana, across counties? How is it that you come up with what the education looks like in a given geographic location?
That's a great question. I'm still trying to figure it out myself a bit, being just just a year. I think last week was my 1-year anniversary with this position. But at Extension, we are big on surveys. So I started an equine and livestock needs assessment survey that you can find on our website. Maybe we could link it in the podcast or something. If you own land or rent land or lease land and have animals on that land, I would so appreciate giving me some feedback on what you're looking for, what kind of education, what kind of support, what kind of resources could the community use that are, too big for one person to handle on their own.
It sounds like you're pretty proactive in reaching out for what the needs are as opposed to just guessing.
Yes, I did grow up in Ravalli County and have 5 acres.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. We love everyone here in Missoula County.
I know, I'm hard to love. But I graduated from Montana State University, went out to the Pacific Northwest for almost 15 years and came back. And my husband and I now own 5 acres with many, many animals. I won't name the number. There's too many. I jumped in the position kind of having some idea of what the local land stewards and animal husbandry, what we needed. So I jumped into some of those topics, especially horses, grazing, management plans are some of the things I was already passionate about. I started the pasture evaluation program last April, and that has been really popular. And what I'm finding is there are so many people in Missoula County that are new to owning land. They moved from some place where maybe they never had more than an acre or half an acre to, grow a garden or have any size livestock. A lot of people new to owning animals. They're really interested in having their own chickens or flock of sheep or goats, having their first horse or, raising one steer. So I'm really excited to develop more resources for those folks that are hungry for that information and need the local application rather than just Google searching something online. Or
I imagine you have to strike a balance, in a sense, with a lot of the people you work with, because we have this long tradition of folks living on the land and raising animals, and we also have a whole lot of new people here in the last 15, 20 years. What's it like to kind of work on both sides of that line?
That's a great question. I think my observation is that the larger farms and ranches have a lot of resources already. They are, approached by sales reps for feed companies or, virtual fencing companies, or there's how many 1,500 nonprofits here based in Missoula. And a lot of them they're actively seeking out these larger landscapes. But the little guy, the people like me with 5 acres, nobody has the resources for them or is paying in attention. But I feel really strongly that if you added up all of these, ranchettes or farmettes, whatever you want to call them, the 3 acres here, 5 acres, 20 acres here, if you add all that up here in Missoula County, it adds up to an enormous amount of land. And so if we can affect just the small acres all over our communities for healthier soils, better grazing land, more wildlife friendly, bird friendly, better healthy animals.
Yet bear aware.
Fire mitigation. I mean, there's so many ways that we can positively impact our properties, our landscapes on that we have on our own property. So.
Yeah.
Do you have a story of someone this past year that you've developed a relationship with and helped them through their whatever challenges that they were grappling with on their 5 acres? Or
Well, you were there for our first annual horse farm tour and storytelling event last fall in September. I was really excited to go out and help Dan and Marge Harper. They were one of the first applicants for my pasture evaluation program. So I went out and he already had a beautiful pasture grazing management plan in place for his horses, but we made some tweaks and improved his productivity and animal health.
Such a great workshop, and because they had a kind of a tricky place, and it was beautiful, and it was just really neat to see how someone could do the work that they did on small acreage. And
there's nothing like going out and putting your hands on or your eyes on how other people do things with their land and their animals. It's just so much more growth in learning that happens compared to reading about it online or in a book.
I was very envious of their manure management. It was great.
So here's a hypothetical, and it is truly hypothetical. I go out, purchase 5 or 10 acres, and that 5 or 10 acres is just hard pan with some knapweed growing up, and I decide, well, I want to have a horse too. again, this is how hypothetical it is. I'm not going to be riding a horse anytime soon. But anyway, so now I have a horse in this 5-acre pasture, and I say to myself, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. Should I pick up the phone and call you?
Yes.
Before you buy the horse.
Call our office. Well, actually, your situation that was actually an easier situation than I thought you were going to suggest.
Okay.
I mean, one horse, I'm glad you started with just one. That is my first recommendation. Start small. Maybe it's a small plot of garden or one small pasture rather than the whole piece. I encourage people to break things down, start small. If you've never had a grazing plan before, just take your pasture and cut it in half. It doesn't have to be super complicated the first year. You grow with the property that you're on for sure. I definitely would recommend calling our office. I'm probably not the perfect person to call and ask about what pesticide or herbicide to use for the knapweed, but we have those people in our office. We have really passionate plant people in the Department of Ecology who can come out and talk to you about, what native plants or forbs or trees to plant, how to take care of those trees, what to seed in your lawn. And then I can certainly help with the animal husbandry part and how to maybe rest your pastures in a way that improves the health of that landscape over time. But that's one of the hardest parts about land management is just the time it takes, not just day to day, year in, year out. But if you find yourself, this is a really common situation. People find themselves with an old horse pasture, right? And it's just grazed down to just the nubbins of knapweed, and it's full of rocks and poor fencing. Start with, rebuilding that fencing first, introducing a modest amount of animals. And, for every year of abuse on the landscape, I figure you got to be patient, and it takes another 3 years to improve.
Oh, that's an interesting equation.
Yeah, I hate telling people that because their hearts sink. They want that instant lawn or that instant, Kentucky bluegrass field of horses that they envision in their mind. But it just takes time, but just little steps year after year to improve your knowledge, improve your timing and effectiveness, efficiency on the land with your animals. It pays off in the decades to come.
Question for Campbell. So for a lot of people who aren't in 4-H, their association with 4-H is the fair, but that's just a few days a year, really. What's going on in the world of 4-H outside of the fair?
Yes, I would call it the showcase of the work that has happened in many cases throughout the course of an entire year.
So what's the year outside of the fair look like for a 4-H kid?
For me, it was excavating all those rocks and minerals.
You're not getting your gravel permit, buddy.
Building the case here. Well, it depends on the project. If a kid is raising...
let's make one up. Kids
raising a pig to bring to the fair. Most of the kids are going to buy a pig in April. They're going to raise it for 4 months, bring it to the fair, exhibit it, show it, sell it. They're done. If a kid's raising a steer, it's more of a 10 or 12 month type of project. They'll get them in October or so, sell them, raise them, sell them, train them, show them in August, and they're done. Cooking projects, a lot of that's done the night before interviews. They learn throughout the year. They'll go to workshops.
What kind of cooking project are folks doing?
There's cooking and baking, which I've learned.
Not
the
the
same
4-H
thing.
is not the same thing. A lot of pies are made, a lot of cookies, a lot of, whatever's in their project books. A lot of breads, a lot of, with the baking, whatever, your banana breads and all those types of things.
So these kids are at their home places raising these animals or working in their kitchens. Is there opportunity where they're actually together in kind of a cohort? And is there a leader to some degree? How does that work?
Yes, for each 4-H club, and there are about 15 different 4-H
15 different clubs
in the county. They each have their own personality, but they also each come with their own volunteers with their own personal passions, and many of the volunteers are parents of the kids who are in 4-H, but a lot of them have been parents and now their kids are gone and they're still volunteering to teach kids how to make a quilt or how to make a pie or how to better raise their pigs or their sheep or their little baby goats or the dog project. Several of the projects that are more popular will have county level support. Our superintendents from the fair, those volunteers who are a little more knowledgeable than maybe your average parent about raising chickens or raising rabbits or training your dogs. They'll we'll have monthly meetings with those kids so they can come practice, they can ask questions, then they can go home with their little homework assignments from whoever's in charge and practice more at home, or you can bake and cook things every night of the week for your family, so you can do a lot of practice there.
So if there's a kid who's interested in 4-H but doesn't come from that traditional ag background, goats and pigs and steer and whatever, what do you recommend, or what do you suggest?
Well, there's more than 200 different projects available to kids in 4-H in Montana. So I would recommend a parent go to the state 4-H website, and that's just montana4h.org. They can surf through the project lists and just find something your kids are interested in, and will either find a volunteer to help them, or if a lot of times parents, if you're in something pretty unique like robotics, or in some cases geology, where there aren't a ton of kids in that project, the parents are kind of the project leaders to start with. But we have resources available. There are folks we can find in the community who are interested in helping kids, like the Gem and Mineral Society in the area works with a lot of our geology
Sounds
kids.
Like volunteerism is a big part of what keeps 4-H running.
It is. I'm one person, and there are nearly 500 kids in 4-H right now. So 4-H would not exist without the volunteers. And so a lot of my time is volunteer management and communicating different things out and trying to match up kids with someone who wants to help kids.
You said there's 15 different clubs. Does each club have a facility, or where do the clubs meet?
They're meeting in living rooms. They're meeting in churches. They're meeting in the Exploration Center, a couple of them.
Great.
It's just spaces in the community that may be available. Fire halls out toward Frenchtown, churches, Turner Farms, their facility. They have probably the largest 4-H club in the entire state of Montana, the Blue Mountain 4-H club, with nearly 100 kids.
Wow.
In that one club. So,
So it sounds like
it's everywhere, but it's nowhere.
Okay.
So 4-H sounds pretty healthy and vibrant here in Missoula County. How do we compare to 4-H in other counties across the state? Are they doing equally well, struggling, or?
Well, there's a lot of success in 4-H in a lot of counties. Well, the largest 4-H program in the state right now is Gallatin County.
Really? You can edit that out.
They have a superstar, new, energetic 4-H agent. The larger communities in Montana have a dedicated person like myself that just does 4-H work. In most counties in Montana, they'll have an extension agent, and they're answering plant calls, bug calls, doing ag work, doing 4-H work. And 4-H, because of the nature of your kids are involved and there are competitions, you get a lot of interaction from the parents, and it takes up a lot of time for those folks who they're the only person in that county. The larger communities like Missoula, like Gallatin, and several others have the luxury of just one 4-H agent. That's all I have to do. Well, I have the best 4-H admin in the entire state. So,
great.
Phoebe does most of the heavy lifting.
Great.
But no, I do get to work a lot with parents and volunteers. But the day-to-day interactions of people walking in and out of the office, we have great support here in the county as well.
So back to that ag kid who doesn't come from an ag background, and
Thank you.
say if he or she wants to raise a steer but doesn't live where they have a steer. So how do they get access to one, or opportunities for them?
The steer is a great example, because I would go back to something Natalie said of start small. If you have a kid,
but steer has so much more personality.
Very ambitious.
Yeah.
And you want to get into a market animal project, and you haven't already made the purchase, like Dave with his horse. I would probably recommend someone start with a sheep or a goat, maybe a pig, get a year or two under your belt, and then move up to one of those, because it's a bigger time commitment, it's a bigger money commitment. If you think that you're going to first year come win something big at the fair with a steer, you're going to be probably disappointed. And we want kids to have successes and build on those successes. And so they would contact our office. I'll quiz them if I have the opportunity ahead of time, and maybe steer them in a different direction. But if they're new to 4-H, link them up with a club that I know has good volunteer support for the beef project, for example. We'll quiz them about facilities, things like that. But we match them up with a club, for starters, that has some good support. But then at the county level, we have superintendents who've been helping with beef project, for one of them for longer than I've been here. So we can get those specific questions answered. I've never raised a steer, but I know a lot of folks who have, so we can connect them up with good information so that hopefully they have successes as they go along, and not big financial failures and catastrophic emotional events.
Try to avoid
That's part of
life too. We'd like for them to have some success as well.
Yeah.
That is a soft skill.
So for a new landowner, let's say somebody recently moved here, buys 5 acres, and they're interested in having a horse or two, if they came to you before they did it, so we bought this land, we want to have some horses, what would you recommend they do first?
Actually, I have had that question quite a bit this year,
Imagine
but it's
somebody
a good one.
out there listening will be like, we have some land.
Yes.
Natalie's out there. Maybe we should buy a horse. And
Gosh, I love it when people come to me beforehand as well, rather than trying to fix a disaster. But number one would be fencing. Good, safe fencing appropriate for the species. You're going to need different fencing, whether you're bringing a steer or a herd of goats or 2 horses. And that's a big financial leap for a lot of people, but that's really important. Along with that is a good sacrifice area.
what do you mean?
Yeah, it's a
So where we cut the hearts out of.
Okay.
yeah, we sacrifice
There's
to
a
the
pile of
livestock
hearts
gods.
at EBRL somewhere.
Thank you for asking. A sacrifice area is also recently at the Western Montana Grazing and Ag Conference, somebody coined it a benevolent space. So it's a space where your animals are really concentrated. They're going to spend a lot of time.
They're going to grind it into nothing.
Yeah, you sacrifice
That's the property
it.
I described that I bought
earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, your whole place was
The
a
whole place
sacrifice
was a
area
sacrifice zone.
at
Yes.
first. But ideally, a sacrifice area might be like 600 square feet per horse.
Okay.
And so it's central, hopefully to make chores efficient and easy. It's close to water and the hay storage and a shelter for any species.
So you got to really thoughtfully decide where you put these things. If you're going to be doing chores in inclement weather, Christmas morning,
Yeah.
you want to be thoughtful about where you put your infrastructure.
Yeah, this is something we talked about just on Saturday at our first annual horse grazing workshop, which was absolutely phenomenal. We had Jen Moeller from Grow Wild come out from Gallatin County. Sorry, the expertise came from
I like
Gallatin
that.
County.
Jeez. That's okay.
No, but her and I and Mary Rose Coleman with our Department of Ecology did some lectures about just that. How if you are starting from scratch, where do you start? How do you think about these things? So fencing, sacrifice areas, water placement for sure with livestock, shelters, hay storage, just where to place those things. Find a veterinarian before you get the animal as well. Large animal vets are few and far between, especially with cattle, getting that way with horses. Also, we don't have very many veterinarians that specialize in small ruminants like goats, llamas, sheep. So people have to go quite a ways to find those. So I always tell people, make sure you have at least had a phone call, a conversation with a veterinarian that is at least comfortable with the species that you're interested in before you get one.
I've heard it said that when placing things, you would place the structure or facilities that you go to every day close to where you live. And then the farther out you go should rhyme with the frequency that you need to be at that place. So you don't put water very far away because you got to go to water every day, right? But something you don't need to go to every day could be on the other side of your field.
I've heard it described like laying out your kitchen. The triangle of the
triangle,
kitchen with the stove and the sink
fridge and the
the fridge.
range,
Yeah. You don't want to be taking 20 steps to go, get every little ingredient or check the oven. And a good, efficient farmer ranch does the same thing.
Yeah. My farming mentor once said, don't build things just yet. First, watch where you go, and then make your infrastructure match the rhythms of your labor rather than trying to make your labor match the infrastructure. So be thoughtful and start small and watch where you go. And it turned out to be really great advice.
And the elements, like the 4 seasons.
Yeah, where it might be a perfect spot to walk in winter, but not in summer, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
You made a comment that made me think too about in that first or second year, or if you're just like becoming more aware of your land stewardship and what could be better. I always tell people to observe, know what you have. I'm a big fan of exclosures, which could be as small as like a 3x3 space around a tree or you can exclude your animals and wildlife from a riparian area, but it gives you an idea of all the plants grow up, so you can kind of get an idea of what's there that may be good, maybe bad, what the tonnage potential is on a pasture, helps you identify those plants, and just creates a nice little microhabitat for insects and diversity of species. And you can do a soil test to better understand the prospects of your place. You can do some mapping on web soil survey. You can do exclosures, ID the plants that your animals are grazing, as well as IDing the noxious or nuisance weeds that are there. And we have resources to do that at the Department of Ecology and Extension.
When I was in grad school, I had this question on a test. What's the most important year in the life of an orchard? And it was the pre-plant year. You figure all that stuff out. Water and fencing and soil types and noxious weeds and rhizomatous weeds and everything else.
And even if you've been on a place for 20 years, there's a lot of people who've been steering their land for a long time, but with a little education, a little shift in perspective, you can start doing those things now. They always say, what best time to start something was yesterday, next best time is to start today.
For sure, yeah. We have different weather than we used to, too.
Yeah. I know that's been really true for me this year. I really count on snow and ice on my pastures to turn horses out. And without it, it's just been a nightmare. Horses benevolently confined to sacrifice areas much, much more. So it's a lot more work. And
tell us more about the pasture evaluation program.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm so glad
How do people get involved?
How do people get involved in this?
This is a program that's really near and dear to my heart, and I'm building out several different parts of it. But I've modeled this pasture evaluation program off of other extension universities like University of Kentucky, Penn State, Texas A&M. What you do is go to our website and fill out our pasture evaluation application. So just Google Missoula County Pasture Evaluation Program. It'll get you there to MissoulaEduplace.org and into that pasture evaluation site. And so I will call you up once I get the application. We'll book a time for me to come out to your property. And, first site visit, we could do a soil test if the ground's not frozen. We can ID plants, make some suggestions for a rotational grazing system, or just like we were talking about, better farm layout. We're developing more and more pieces to that, including like an evaluation grading system. If you'd like to know, if your pasture is an A, B, C, D, E, or F, we can grade that with you using an objective monitoring method and then see how that improves over time. We also are doing the annual horse farm tour. We're doing that. We've booked that this year. I'm so excited about it. I've booked it out already. September 4th is a Friday. We include a storytelling part of that, of which Juanita was a part this year, and it was a super big hit. If you have her do it again,
more people will go. I promise you that.
Well, think about what kind of I think you have some great farm or land stories.
I love that
too.
stuff, but none of them involve horses.
Well, any stories about land management, land
well, then you got me.
He's written an entire collection of poems.
Two,
in fact, yes.
Okay.
Not about
I'm
horses.
calling you
No
up
horses.
and booking you for September 4th. So
I once owned a Shetland pony.
Those are tough. Those are tough.
What if we did?
Sorry. Other parts of this program, we're going to have a hay farm tour as well this May, where people can come out and see how hay is actually made and all the environmental factors and inputs that a farmer has to put in to make good quality hay for their animals.
Where are you doing that?
I think we're probably going to start out at Grass Valley Farm in May. He's got quite a bit of different hay fields.
That's such a good
lots
idea.
Of different factors.
I applaud that idea because so many of the folks who are your clients or students are going to be buying hay.
Yes.
And all they know is they write a check and they ask a couple questions, but having an understanding of what it took, what's in it, all the questions they should ask, it's really good.
Yeah, my goal is to have a list of hay growers, local and broken out by kind of what they specialize in, what kind of products they have available to them. That was actually the idea I pitched to get this job. It's one of my biggest passions is the forage industry and connecting the horse owners or livestock owners to the forage industry. There's a lot of miscommunication that goes on. There's a big gap. Wow. And I'm hoping to bridge that. So the hay farm tour, the horse farm tour. Oh, you can also, on the topic of hay, we do free nitrate testing in our office for hay growers. They're growing, oats or peas or other crops that are prone to accumulate nitrates. Really high nitrates in hay are toxic to livestock. So we have a really quick system in our office to test for that. And that's a free service to Missoula County hay growers. And then we also have a forage probe that people can come and rent and test their hay. The rental part is free. Oh, also part of the pasture evaluation program, we had donated several temporary electric fencing systems. We had Datamars and Gallagher both individually donated over $500 worth of temporary fencing equipment that is housed in our office that people can rent. It's a $50 deposit, but you get that back if you return all of our equipment, the solar chargers, the step-in posts. We have multiple different types of wires, so you can experiment with the different materials before going down to your local feed store and making a big investment.
Oh, that's such a great idea.
Yeah, I'm
Do it before
really
you
excited
make the big investment.
Yeah, so I can
really
bring
smart.
this equipment out to you, to your farm, help you set it up, make some suggestions. You get to rent it for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the season. And then you return it. And if it works for you, you can go buy those things at the local store.
And how much does pasture evaluation program cost?
Free. Yeah. The most we charged was $20 for our horse grazing workshop last weekend, and they got like a 4-course meal. It was really nice, cheapest lunch ever.
Awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So while we're talking about 4-H, what are some of the top project areas of focus that you see out there?
Great question. In Montana 4-H and also in Missoula County 4-H, the top project is the Market Hog Project.
The Market Hog
Project. I don't know. Well, I know why, because it's a fairly
delicious.
simple project.
Bacon's delicious.
Because
And
it's
it
delicious.
has a big payday, and there's bacon. So.
Yes.
But in Missoula, we have nearly 100 kids in the archery project.
Wow.
The shooting sports in general, definitely more than 100 kids. Archery, shotgun, the Western Heritage Project, and the air rifle project.
What is the Western Heritage
They
Project?
learn about Western history between 1860 and 1900, the quote Old West time frame. But they learn not just about firearms, which is why the kids want to do it, because they get to shoot lever action rifles and pistols and shotguns. But they learn about the clothing, the food, the cultures, the clash of the cultures.
It's a big story.
The history of this region during the quote Old West period, and they'll make their own clothing. They pick a persona. They get to sort of get quizzed on history through the eyes of a particular type of business owner or individual who would have been around at that time. And it's a great project that probably not enough kids are into because they're scared off by the persona thing. But then the cooking and the baking and the photography projects, the dog project, rabbits, chickens, those are some of the probably top 10 projects in Missoula County. And if a parent is interested, and I'm here today more to talk about what 4-H does than as a recruitment piece, because there's a timing issue. The 4-H year starts October 1st. So most kids have been doing 4-H work for 2 or 3 months now. And depending on which project, it's definitely not too late, because there are lots of projects you still could get started on. But first, I would say whatever search engine you're using, search up Missoula County 4-H, and our phone numbers and names will come up. And give us a call to chat about. We can link you up with a 4-H club that maybe specializes in the things your kids are interested in. We're not trying to create new interests. I want to know what your kids are interested in, because there is a project that matches that. I'll steer you toward a particular 4-H club, and we'll get you enrolled online. But I would say if you're hearing this and thinking about this for right now, do this as soon as possible, because there's the clock's ticking. Things have been happening. The fair is coming up, the 8-day fair, and we don't want you to be behind the curve. But you can sign up for 4-H at any time, and it's relatively easy online. There's a fee per project because you get a lot of project materials. It's $10 per project. Pretty easy.
So affordable.
Yeah,
Man, thanks a ton, Campbell.
You
Thanks
bet.
for all you do.
Yeah,
And thank you
absolutely.
too, Natalie.
So we've been told that you have a series of educational events, and you've already had a few. So what's coming up?
Great. Yeah, thank you. In February, we're doing a farm and ranch insurance speed dating event. And you might ask, how do you speed date with insurance? We're going to have topics specific to farm and ranches, so broken out like agritourism, workers' comp, equine boarding and training, general liability, farm equipment, housing, outbuildings. We're going to have an agent specializing in each of those topics, and everybody will be rotating around in groups and have an opportunity to ask questions about specifically farm and ranch insurance to these various agents. So that's our Farm and Ranch Insurance Speed Dating event on February 26th. That's a Thursday. In March, we're actually going to do a webinar with Montana Department of Public Health and Montana Department of Livestock. I have speakers talking about the highly pathogenic avian influenza.
Oh, my.
So that webinar will be recorded and available to everyone. But if you want to make sure and get the recording or be participating in the live event, make sure you sign up on our website.
Keep your chickens safe.
Yes. In April, we're going to be doing a talk. Montana Department of Ag is sending out Mr. Van Tassel to talk about ground squirrel control and properties. That's, of course, going to be out in Frenchtown at the Frenchtown High School.
Really innovative and
maybe you can come talk about your
using Old West technique.
It's an Old West technique.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, well on her cell phone.
Maybe some air gun.
During a public meeting?
From her porch.
In May, we're going to do that hay farm tour. And then in June is going to be Animal Emergency Planning Month.
Great.
Those are great
this is
topics.
opportunity for folks to become more aware, more knowledgeable about, how to prepare their farm and their animals for maybe a big windstorm event, a fire evacuation, or a disease outbreak. We had EHV1 was a big scare in the United States this year. And so we actually had a stop travel for all horses in the state of Montana. So just creating more awareness and education around that. And if you miss one of these ag talks as we collect them through the years, I will be placing them in a central spot on our website. So just Google Missoula County Ag Talks. And for each ag talk, I'm going to be listing all the resources that come out from those talks. So whether it be a recording or a website or a person to talk to or, worksheet that's found helpful. So if you miss one of those, just Google Ag Talks, and there should be a lot of resources there.
So much good information.
Yeah. All right. Well, before you guys go, we want to ask you our last question. In the world of media and culture, as you listen and read and watch things, have you stumbled into something where you thought, man, that was really memorable, or there was an idea in there that was really worth relating?
I'm so glad you asked this question because I just found one that I'm really passionate about.
Fantastic.
It's from a local podcaster here in Missoula.
Awesome.
Would it be the three of us, perhaps?
Well,
Are there other podcasters? I didn't think there were any other
love podcasts. I was actually listening to your podcast before I started this job. It's very well done and very informative.
Thank you.
But my new favorite is called Reframing Rural. And Megan Torgerson grew up on a farm and ranch in Northeast Montana and went out, saw the world. She came back to Montana, and she's on season 4 of Reframing Rural. And it's just great stories from rural Montana. Season 4 was all about succession planning, succession stories of 5 different families around Montana.
Seceding from the state of Montana.
Those are difficult, really difficult things to do.
Yeah, but she does a really great job. I'm picky about my podcast, but yours and hers, Reframing Rural.
Reframing Rural.
Well done.
We should check that out. Thanks for the recommendation.
All right. I won't talk podcasts.
Whatever you like.
I do listen to yours since back when it was a different name.
Right answer.
Back when it was Tip of the Spear.
Yes, that one. I didn't know if I was allowed to say the word.
No, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Probably the most impactful thing I've read recently is by Patrick Lencioni, who writes a lot in the world of workplace health and business success. It's called The 6 Types of Working Genius. Wow. And it talks about the 6 different types of work that energize you, that you get satisfaction out of. And we all have to do some of the different 6 parts of getting jobs done, but some of them exhaust us. Some of them we are not great at. Some of them we are awesome at and are energized by. And his 6 types of working genius are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And he defines what those are from coming up with an idea to getting a project completed. And it's been, for me, very informative. I am not the one who's pushing the project over the goal line at the end. And I'm not always the one who's coming up with the idea, but mine were discernment and enablement. Those are my 2.
Fantastic. Would you mind saying the name again? This my interest is
It's
piqued.
called The 6 Types of Working Genius, and the author is Patrick Lencioni.
That's great.
Nice. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Campbell. And thanks a ton for both of you for all the work you do and for coming here today.
You bet.
Thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Agenda. If you enjoy these conversations, it would mean a lot if you'd rate and review the show on whichever podcast app you use.
And if you know a friend who would like to keep up with what's happening in local government, be sure to recommend this podcast to them.
The Agenda with the Missoula County Commissioners is made possible with support from Missoula Community Access Television, better known as MCAT, and our staff in the Missoula County Communications Division.
If you have a question or a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email it to communications@missoulacounty.us.
To find out other ways to stay up to date with what's happening in Missoula County, go to missoula.co/county updates.
Thanks for listening.